the practice of therapy. And thank you so much for joining me for this video and also for your purchase of the Session Note Helper. And in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to set up the Session Note Helper system. But before we get started, I wanted to give you a little bit of background and a little bit of understanding about this particular system. First of all, I want you to understand that this is not a software. So it doesn't work like a software. It is simply a set of templates that I'll show you how to download here shortly or get copies of. But also it operates within Google G Suite or the G Suite set of tools, primarily the Google Form and Google Docs. And in this tutorial, I'm going to also show you how to use an add-on in conjunction with these two templates that I've created in order to set up the Session Note Helper. And the Session Note Helper, as a reminder, is just simply a system that you use within your Google account. So first of all, you do need to have a Google account. And I would recommend very much, in order for this to all be HIPAA compliant, that you get Google G Suite. And G Suite is the paid version of a Google account. And with the paid version, you can get the BAA or the Business Associate Agreement from Google. So a little bit of background here. The Session Note Helper, I really was trying to come up with a way within my own practice to be able to write session notes or progress notes in much quicker than it was happening for me, because I was spending a lot of time actually typing out all the notes and creating those session notes to put in my patient files or my client files in order to track my sessions. What I noticed is that as I was writing my notes, I tended to write them pretty much the same way every time or use the same kind of phrasing. And so really what I needed was just a way to check off what I did in the session, and then for that to create, by clicking off checkboxes on my screen, for it to create a narrative of what I did in the session that I could either cut and paste into my electronic health record system or store on my Google Drive. And so what I figured out is you could do that with using Google Forms and then an add-on called Form Publisher. So let's jump into the setup here of these systems and how they work together so that you can get started in using the Session Note Helper. When you purchase the download of the Session Note Helper from Gumroad, you will have gotten this quick start guide, and you will have gotten it in both a Google Doc format and also a PDF format. I would really recommend that you just use the Google Doc format, and that it'll just work better with Google. One thing, again, I'll need to mention here at the very beginning is that you do need to be logged into your Google account for all of this to work. And if you don't have the paid version of Google, have a paid Google account, also known as G Suite, I would recommend that you get that. It's very economical. It doesn't cost but anywhere from $6 to $12 a month per user. And when you do that, then that will enable you to get the BAA or the Business Associate Agreement that is required by HIPAA in order to make all of this HIPAA compliant and HIPAA secure. So you'll see here on the session quick start guide, there's a link here for you to get the paid version if you don't have that. So once you have your Google account, what you'll want to do is be sure, and I'm using the Google Chrome browser. You'll want to use the Google Chrome browser just because it's made to work with Google and G Suite and all of that sort of thing. In fact, probably you're going to have difficulty if you try to use a different browser like Internet Explorer or Safari. This might work okay in Firefox, but I would really recommend that you use the Chrome browser for your setup and for getting this all together. So the first thing we want to do is be sure that you're logged into your Google account in your Chrome browser. And if you go up here to the top right-hand corner of your browser, you should be able to see where to log in if you haven't logged in already. But the first thing I'd like for you to do in order to set this up is go into your Google Drive. And I've already set up some folders here in my Google Drive that's um, going to help me just kind of make it a little easier. Set up a folder here called tutorial. But the way to set up a new folder in Google Drive is just go here to new, and right here where it says folder, just click on that. But in your Google Drive, and so I've set up a drive here called just called tutorial, where I've got some other things here. But within this drive, I am within this folder, I'm going to set up a new folder, and I'm just going to title that Session Note Helper. And this is where I'm going to load the stuff, the templates is into this folder. And then a second folder that I'm going to create is just called Session Notes. So I've got the two folders here set up. Now I'm going to go back here to my startup guide. And after I've got those folders set up, then I want to get the copies of my, my templates. And I need to get two things. One is the master copy of the Session Note Helper. So when I click on this link, it will open up a page that looks like this. And you'll see it just prompts me to make a copy. So I'm going to make a copy of this. And so you'll see it gives me a copy of the Session Note Helper, and it's just named Copy of Master Copy of Session Note Helper 2.0. Then the next thing I want to do is move this into that folder I set up, just called the Session Note Helper. So I've got that in another folder here. The tutorial folder. So I'm going to move it into this folder called Session Note Helper. And the way I did that is I just clicked on this little folder up here, open that up, and I'm going to say move here. And so it will give me a little prompt. And so I've got that moved there. Then next, I want to make a copy of the Google Doc template. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to click on this, and it will prompt me again to make a copy of it. And again, I want to do the same process here where I want to, once this loads fully, I'm going to move this, click on the folder here, and I'm going to move it to the correct folder. That other folder, move it to the Session Note Helper folder. I'm going to move it here. Okay, so now I've downloaded, or I've made copies of my two working copies, and you want to protect these copies here. And what I would do is just change the name of this. What you can do is go up here and just take that copy off of it and just say master copy, and do the same for the form. And that way that lets me know that that's the master copy. And so in Google, everything saves automatically, which is a good thing, so you don't have to really think about that much. And so I've got my step 2 here down, 2 copies of master copy of the Google Form template, and next I've got the Google Doc template. So the next thing I want to do, just again, to make sure that I am kind of protecting these copies of things, is I want to go here and I'm going to make another copy of this. And so what I can do is on the Google form, I'm just going to go over here where these 3 little dots are, where it says more, And I'm just going to make another copy of it. And that way I know that I've got that, and it will automatically save it in the same folder. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this master copy of the Session Note Helper Google Doc. And in a Google Doc, the way you make a copy is you go to File, and then here to Make Copy. And again, I'm going to make a copy of this. And then I'll use these to set everything up. That way I've preserved my 2 master copies. So I'm going to close my master copies just so I don't get confused about which one I'm using here. And we'll go to the next step. So in step 3, what we want to do is activate the Form Publisher add-on. If you don't have the add-on already installed, you might need to do that. To do that, you'll need to go over here to Add-ons, over here where the 3 dots, the More symbol here, and go to Add-ons. And I've already got the Form Publisher add-on installed on mine, so it's already, we're okay there. But you might need to do that and just go through the steps that it prompts you for. But then what you want to do, in order to activate the Form Publisher add-on, you'll click on this little puzzle piece up here where it says Add-ons. Click on that, click Form Publisher, and then you'll click Get Started. And it will bring this up. Now, if you're using Form Publisher for creating your own templates and that sort of thing, you can do it from scratch here. But since we already have the template already created, the Google Doc template already created, what we'll want to do is go in here to select the template. Once it brings up the Google Picker, what you'll want to do is pick the Google Doc that you downloaded, the copy of the Google Doc that has all the markers for the Form Publisher to recognize. So I'm going to click on that and then click Select. Once you click on that, it'll bring up this checker here, and it'll let you know that everything matches up. And so if you've not made any changes to the Google Doc or the Google Form, everything should match up automatically from what you downloaded. Then we want to click Next. So in this next part, what we want to do is pick the folder that we want the output documents to go to. Now, if you remember at the beginning, we already created a session note folder to collect your session notes. So what you want to do is click on this little thing here that says Change Destination Folder. And the Google Picker should bring up that folder for you here at the top. If it's not here at the top, you want to just go down, scroll down, and find the correct folder to put your output documents in. But since we just created that folder, it's already located here at the top. So I click on that and we select it. Then next on this same, before we click Next, what I suggest that you do is you change your file title, your generated files title here. And what I would suggest that you change that to is just go in here and change this to name and then date. And that way it's easier to find once you start generating notes. It will have the patient's name and the date of the session in there. The other thing that we want to do is make sure that this file copy is unclicked. Keep PDF in Drive. What I recommend that you do is keep it as a Google Doc, and then if you need to change it to a PDF format, to do that from the Google Doc. That way it's not automatically generating a PDF copy in your drive, because you might need to make changes once it's generated the Google Doc. So we'll click Next. And then what it will do automatically, the default, is for it to email you a PDF of, of your session note. There's really no need to do this because it's going to automatically save in your Google Drive. So what I would do here is click on this down arrow here and just put remove. And then that way it doesn't email you every time you create a note and you get that PDF. There's really no reason to do that. And then leave all these other options unchecked. On step 4, we're going to start using our session note helper as it's set up so you can begin creating your session notes. So we'll go back here to your copy, your master copy here. You won't be able to answer anything on this page because this is where you've created your form, and this is like the editing back end of the form. So what you want to do is get to the working form, and the way to do that is you click send, and what you want to do is get the link for that form, and then you copy the link. Just click copy here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new tab in Google Chrome and just paste that link in there. Okay, this is where I can start creating my notes. Now, here's another tip. So a quick tip with this URL, which gives you your working copy of your session note helper, is to create a shortcut for that so that you don't have to go in and to your working copy every time. So here's the quick tip on that. I'm going to minimize my browser here, my Google Chrome browser. And I'm going to go to my desktop here, and I'm just going to simply right click and then click on new and then shortcut. Now I'm using Windows. I'm sure you could do something very similar in Macintosh or Apple, Mac, but I'm going to create a shortcut here. And so I'm just going to paste that URL into the shortcut and click next. And then I'm going to rename that session note helper. And then click finish. And so what that does is just creates a shortcut here. Then anytime I go to creating a session notes, I just double click on that, and it brings up the working copy of the session note helper to where I can just start filling this in. So I'm going to fill this out real quickly and click submit and show you what happens with this. Okay, I've gone through and filled out all of the different sections of the Google form. And so I'm going to click submit. And if I have another session note, I can go ahead and create another one just simply by clicking on submit another response. But if we go back to the folder that we created earlier called session notes, you can see that magically the note that I created shows up here as John Smith's session note. And you can see that it is in narrative format based on what I checked off on the session note helper. Now, I can also go in here and edit this as I need to, make changes to it. If I'm not pleased with how it worded things automatically, I can change those things. Also, once I've completed the note, I can also go over here to File and download it in any of these formats, either Microsoft Word or PDF or any of these different formats that Google Docs allows you to use. Well, hopefully this will get you started with the session note helper and give you some ideas about how to set it up and how to get started with the Form Publisher plugin. Do go through the tutorial sheet, the startup guide, and make sure that you get your BAA for your Google account and your Form Publisher it's two separate BAAs to make sure that you're HIPAA compliant. Again, there's links on the quick start guide for that down at the bottom to do that. And if you have any questions about the use of all of these tools, you can certainly email me at gordon@practiceoftherapy.com. Thanks again for joining me with this tutorial on using the Session Note Helper.